What's going on, guys? It's your boy here, and welcome back to the channel. Today I'm coming at you with a deck profile on a deck that I built mostly for my brother to play Yu-Gi-Oh with in a competitive state on pretty much a budget. This deck is exactly pretty much right around or right about under $100, give or take, because I had a lot of the hand traps necessary. There are some cheaper versions for the hand traps in this deck, but nevertheless, you can see the deck is DDD. First time I ever played DDD. Ever built DDD, anything like that. I got some help from a bunch of different people, looked at some lists that were on some of the best YCSs, even on regionals and stuff like that, and compiled this list. This might look some pretty standard to you, but I figured either way, I'm going to upload the deck and showcase what I got. I do not have a side deck built for this deck yet. So any advice on a side deck or what cards I side in and out, like side out to put in, would be greatly appreciated for this deck. But either ways, let's get right into the deck profile. 42 cards, 15 extra deck. Let's get right into it. If you guys enjoy the deck profile, leave a like and subscribe for more Yu-Gi-Oh content. Hit that notification bell so you don't get missed on anything that I upload. Starting off with the monsters, we have 3 copies of probably the newest, best card DD's ever got printed, and that is a card called Ddd Griffin. Now, Ddd Griffin here got 3 effects. Every single last one of them is like amazing. So the best thing about it is if you have another DDD monster, like a DDD monster on your field, you can special summon this card from your hand in defense position. And if this card is Pendulum, okay, that's the best, like the first thing. That's an instant, like, Xyz level 4, everything. Now, you can also use it to Synchro Summon because there's one DDD in the deck that's a tuner as well, which will come up later. So this card's like a free resource for, like, everything. If it's Pendulum Summon, this is effect number 2, you can discard 1 DDD or Dark Contract card and draw 1 card. Gazoon typed to myself. Now, that's essentially a free pickup plus 1. And there's a lot of DDD cards in here that have like an effect if they're in the graveyard, like Necro Slime and Limia. So they're all like really darn useful. Now, the last effect that this card is special summoned from the graveyard. But from any effect, you can add 1 DDD card from your deck to your hand, except DDD Griffin. You can only use each effect of DDD Griffin once per turn. Every single last one of those effects is absolutely amazing. And to make things even better, he's a level 1 Pendulum with the crazy ability to add 500 to a monster. Like, this card is broken. It is what brought back this deck alive, and it is the whole reason that this deck is even considered, even played at the moment. Like, it's so consistent. This deck is ridiculous. Next up is one of the best normal summons DDD, and probably the most expensive card, main deck-wise, that this deck needs. And that's 3 copies of Copernicus. Now, for some damn ungodly reason, Copernicus is $12. A level 4, 0 attack, 0 defense is $12. It makes no sense at first. But then I started reading this card, and I was like, okay, so this card is essentially a monster version of Foolish Burial for DDDs. And that's exactly what this card is. If you normal summon or special on this card, you send 1 DDD card from your, or Dark Contract card from your deck to the graveyard, except DDD Copernicus, once per turn. You can only use that effect. And you can, and then if the Pendulum Zone, you cannot Pendulum Summon monsters except DDD monsters. The effect cannot be negated. Once while this card is in your Pendulum Zone, you can negate an activated spell effect that would inflict damage to you and destroy that card. Unless I am facing like a Dragoon deck that's going to do me a burn damage, I don't ever think I'm me is going to reserve Copernicus. But either way, this card, normal summoning and dump anything to the graveyard, like, is insane. Like, the best cards I think would dump to the graveyard, I mean, sure, dumping Griffin to the graveyard is a choice. Maybe you want to dump Swirl Slime, or maybe you want to dump the Typhoon, or Necro Slime, or Lamia. Those are like only the best card choices that I could ever think of to send off of this card. But again, Copernicus is absolutely a necessity, and it just works. That's one of your best normal summon. The next best normal summon in this entire deck is Ddd Servant Kepler. So Kepler is actually the highest scale in this entire deck at scale 10. Again, 0 attack, 0 defense, level 1. If this card's normal or special summon, you can activate one of the following effects. You can only use this effect of Ddd Servant Kepler once per turn, and it's target one DDD contract card you control or return to the hand, or add one dark contract card from your deck to your hand. So it's bounced, so you don't take the 1,000. It's like emergency provisions, which honestly I considered putting this deck, and I still might. The quick play spell card like Jade and Yuki used, so he wouldn't take damage from cards. Yeah. Now, again, Kepler for dumping cards is like amazing. That's pretty much all you need to do is something about Kepler and the Pendulum Zone thing. I mean, it just sucks, but at the same time, the card is a great card. And did I mention that those two, Copernicus and Kepler, are searchable with this spell card, which I'm going to jump to right now because I need to talk about this card. This card just, it made no sense to me at first, and I still think this card is absolutely stupid. And, like, it should not be played. There are a bunch of other cards to play aside from this card, but apparently every single DDD deck I've seen plays this motherfucking card. And I'll excuse my French, but this card is stupid. It's called Pires Map. You pay half your life points to add a level a monster with 0 attack and defense from your deck to your hand. You can't resolve any other effect until you summon and activate that card effect. If your normal summon of the cards you two search are going to be Copernicus or Kepler, if you search either one of these two and your normal summon gets negated, you're stuck under effects you can't activate because of this card. And all they have to do is stop the normal summon. And you're screwed. This card is a neg in my mind. There's thousands of different things that you could possibly put in, but you play Pires Map. It made no sense. It makes no sense. But, let alone we play 3 Pires Map. And even though this deck is 42 cards, if this card, I'm playing it because I've seen a lot of people play it, and everyone says play it. I'm like, if this card does not perform, I'm chucking this card out of the deck, like, instantaneously. Because there's different things that I could put in here to make this deck just as good without that card. I've not once needed to resolve that card. I've either opened up Kepler, Griffin, Swirl Slime, or Copernicus in my hand. Every single one of those gets me into plays. Like, I have not needed this card a necessity, ever. And I just unknowingly shuffled the deck with my, because I was thinking. Give me 1 second to split this thing back apart. Okay, maybe a little bit more than a second, because I apparently thorough shuffled it in like a minute. Just sitting here talking. Alright. Yeah, anyways, that's Pires Map. Guess we'll go into the Swirl Slimes. We play 3 Swirl Slimes. This card's inherit fusion from your hand. So essentially, you discard it and fusion with that card and another DDD card from your hand in order to get... Your main target is going to be Genghis, more than likely. Because Genghis is like the... the one card you really want to go into with this deck. Because, well... Yeah, how else do I explain this card? It's fusions, and you banish it from the graveyard to special summon a DDD from your hand. Like, it just has so much versatility. It's actually kind of insane. Out of everything I've seen, though, Swirl Slime, like, I loved using Swirl Slime into Beowulf. That was, like, one of the coolest things I've seen someone do with DDDs ever, and then Beowulf just, like, dropped off the face of the earth. Like, even though I had never played it, I just love seeing people make Beowulf, because the first thing that came to my head when I saw Beowulf was, like, yo, somebody loved American Studies, because he just pulled off the Beowulf book. No, but seriously, the card is amazing. And I still think Beowulf should be played in this deck, but the extra deck space is just so tight right now. It's just, like, it's just generically tight in the extra deck. Like, every single person is playing, like right on dot, the same 15 cards except for the level 10 is going to be different for me. But yeah, Swirl Slime. Next off, now that I have the deck back in organized, is 2 copies of DDD Oblivion King Abyss Ragnarok. I've seen lists that only play 1 of this card. I think this card is a good 2 of. You could definitely cut this card down to 1 and 1 PRS map and make this deck exactly 40 cards, which is probably what could end up happening here. But anyways. So Ragnarok, if normal or special summon, you can target 1 DDD. That's 3 Ds, by the way. Monster in your graveyard, special summon it. You can only activate this effect of DDD Oblivion King Abyss Ragnarok once per turn. And once per turn, you can tribute 1 other DDD monster, then target 1 monster your opponent controls. Banish it. Correct. This card is a free triple D reminder. I'm basically being like Guy Fieri here with double D Fridays. Drivers, Dynads, and Drives. Except this is Dimension Demons. Anyways, like, every single card in your extra deck is going to have the triple D in its name. And surprisingly enough, I didn't know this. Apparently, a triple D can also count as a double D, which I did not know that. Because it has 3 Ds. Doesn't mean it's a singularity 3 Ds. If it was in quotation marks, it'd be 3 Ds. But you could use something like DDD Swirl Slime to fuse with Ragnarok because it still counts as a double D. Next off, we have DDD Orthros here. This is the only tuner in the entire deck, and it's a level 4 tuner. It's also your spell and trap card removal, because you put this card in your Pendulum Zone, you pop cards, you go in there. Anytime you take battle damage, you can special summon DDD Orthros. It's so free searchable, and you only have 2 synchros in the deck, 2 synchros, 2 tuners. It's there, and you can recycle DDD Orthros like crazy. So, yeah. That's pretty much all you need to know about Orthros. It's in there for level 4, and it's a free tuner. Onto the one-ofs of the DDDs. Of course, one of the main cards in the entire deck is 1 copy of DDD Vice Typhoon. Some people can play 2 DDD Vice Typhoon, just in case you want to go and double down into fusion-wise. But Vice Typhoon otherwise is just in there for the fusions. Sure, you can dump it to the graveyard to banish it and summon another DDD, which means, yeah, you can make a DDD Flame High King Genghis with this card, and then when this card is normal summon or special summon, target 1 DDD monster, special summon the silver lower DDD monster from your deck during your main phase. Vice Typhoon is free a lot of stuff. The fact that it's a fusion summon from the graveyard is crazy enough. Servant Thomas. Thomas is just a train. This card recycles your cards from your extra deck back to your hand, so you can pendulum them from your hand if you don't have your only link monster in your entire deck, Gishkin, to get it back on the field. Sorry, I'm sounding like a complete noob with these cards. I literally have never played this deck in my entire life. I even haven't taken this deck to a tournament yet. I'm just showcasing you my first build and seeing what y'all think about it. So you can target 1 DD card you can Pendulum Zone, like I said, and special summon 1 level 8 DDD monster card from special summon 1 level 8 DDD monster from your deck in defense position, but for the rest of the turns, effect is negated. Any battle damage your opponent takes becomes halved. You can only use the effect of DDD Servant Thomas once per turn, and like I said, the extra deck the pendulum version of adding the cards to the extra deck to the hand. Next, I play 1 copy of DDD Cerberus. Not only did I put this card in here for mythological reasons, because I'm a big mythological person, but once per turn, you can target 1 DDD monster. You cannot special summon. Do not change its level to 4. Yeah. I could target 1 DDD monster I control and change its level to 4, and if you do, it gains 400 attack, which is irrelevant part, and defense. And then when this card is Pendulum Zone from the hand, while you control a DDD monster other than DDD Cerberus, you can target 1 continuous spell card in your graveyard and add it to your hand. So it can recycle your DDD continuous contracts And it can also change any DDD to level 4. So that's easy level 4 plays for whatever Synchro Xyz you need. One copy of Lamia for recycles. I actually forgot this card was a tuner when I was talking about the other tuner in the deck being Cerberus. But Lamia makes it very... I don't really use it for Synchro Summoning that much because I've never once used it to Synchro Summon, to be honest, because I don't have a level 7 in this deck or a level 5. If this card is in your graveyard, you just basically send it and it just comes back. It's free recycled card. It's basically what Ddd Lamia is, although it gets banished when it's sent to the graveyard next time. Next, this card literally is straight Akaba Reiji and a Yu-Gi-Oh card. This card is called Go. DDD Divine Zero King Rage. This card is a promo card. This card was a $15 promo card. Actually, no, it was less than 15. It was like... Actually, it was around the same price as Copernicus, around $12. Anyways, this card's only been printed one time, and it was impossible to find. Just thank God I have some hookup friends who got me to a friend who had a friend who had that card sitting in his thing, and I just bought it off of him. So, yeah, I'm not going to bother explaining this card because even I don't understand how this card works yet. I've never once seen this card ever. So, the card says... if you would take effect damage, you can take no... If you would take effect damage, you take no damage. If you normal summon one level or higher DDD monster, you can do it without tributing. So, okay, the first pendulum effect actually makes this card really good for Ragnarok. And when this card declares an attack, if your opponent's life points is 4,000 or less, you can make this card gain attack equal to your opponent's life points until the end of the turn. Cannot be destroyed in battle. Also, you take no battle damage from battle involving this card. You can tribute one on the monster, apply one of these effects. This card can attack directly. Your opponent can activate cards or effects of the spell and track card zone. Your opponent can activate cards or effects in the hand or graveyard. So, literally, this card is just stall out, control every single thing in the entire game. That's Akaba Reiji for you right there. This card should have been played by Akaba Reiji in the show. That would have been hilariously great to watch. The last DDD card is one copy of DDD Necro Slime. This card is Graveyard Fusion Summon. Essentially, that's all I can say. If this card's in your graveyard, you banish it to fusion summon a DDD monster. That's pretty much all this Necro Slime's in here for. And that's why you only need the one copy. That's it for the DDD monsters. Onto the hand traps. We got 3 copies of Nibiru in here. I'm not going to bother explaining the hand traps. You know what all the hand traps do by now. 2 Ghost Ogre and Snow Rabbit. I probably should play this card at 3, but then again, I wanted exactly 10 hand traps. 2 Effect Veiler you could play in permanence, but I'd rather play Effect Veiler in this deck. 1 Ash Blossom and Joy Spring. 1 Ghost Mariner and Moonlit Chill. The 2 Ghost Sisters. I don't have a second Ash. I got rid of it, and I need to get my Ashes back. Side note, if I did, I'd probably get rid of the Ghost Mariner and Moonlit Chill for it, but then apparently Ghost Mariner and Moonlit Chill is good in there now. 1 Token Collector to counter Adventurers. This card is amazing. Then onto the spell cards. 3 copies of Card Contract with the Gates. This card is your reinforcement of the army, except it's not bound to level 4s or level 4 lower warrior monsters. And it also has the 1,000 effect damage cost. But this card is amazing. Literally, I think this card is the better PRS map in my mind. This card is way better than PRS map. 1 copy of Dark Contract with Swamp King to fusion summon and take 1,000. Dark Contract with Patent Lanius. This card can lock your opponent out of Fusion, Synchro, Xyz, anything as long as you have the same type, and your opponent takes 1,000 damage, yada yada. You can also dump this card to the graveyard and then have some really cool effects go off. 1 for 1 to search out your Copernicus, to search out your Kepler. And the last trap card in the deck is a trap card called DDD Headhunt, which is also a new card. And it's like change of heart for DDDs. And also the monster taken with this effect becomes DDDs. That's it for the main deck. On for the staple extra deck. Starting off with the Link monster that came from Dual Devastator is 3 copies of DDD Abyss King Giglamesh. Now, Giglamesh is actually kind of insane for this deck, but let me explain to you what Giglamesh does. Essentially, it sets pendulum scales for you. It takes 2 DDD monsters, including if it was a triple D. If this card is special summoned, you can activate this effect. You can have special summon monsters for the rest of the turn except DDD monsters. You also place 2 DDD monsters with different names from your deck in your pendulum zone. If you do, take 1,000 damage. If this Link Summon counter is destroyed with battle, with an opponent's attacking monster or by an opponent's card effect while it's in your owner's monster zone, including the extra monster zone, you can special summon one DDD monster from your extra deck or graveyard in defense position. You can only use this effect of DDD Gilgamesh once per turn. So you could special summon any one of your extra deck cards free of cost when this card is destroyed. Next up, I have two copies of DDD Devastator King Deuce Machina. So this card, you can place this card over any DDD card special summon from the extra deck, and then preferably you want to do an Xyz monster that has 2 materials or more, because this card is snatch and steal, basically. You negate an effect, you stick it under Machine King next, and then you can deattach to negate a card. Like, this card is a 3,000 killer. And if it's ever destroyed, it goes to the Pendulum Zone. You can bring this card back out. Like, it's only level 8. Card's nuts. The big boss monster of that deck, real talk. But we also have Zeus in here. The non-DDD card, but Zeus is in here because you have a lot of Xyz monsters. One of those Xyz monsters being DDD Wave High King Caesar, who you can make by overlaying 2 level 6s, really. You also have DDD Wave King Caesar. I've made this a couple of times. You basically have to take your 2 Flame King Genghis and Xyz summon it. It's really weird, but this card is awesome to negate spells and traps, but it's not that hard to make 2 Genghis. I've actually wished I had a 3rd copy of Genghis, but you don't. 1 copy of DDD Marksman Kingtail. Just throw this copy of any on DDD Xyz monster, and you basically deal 1,000 damage. Just burn. 1 copy of DDD Flame High King Genghis. This card is the broken one in my personal opinion. It takes a level 5 or higher DDD monster plus 1 DDD monster. Now, out of all the DDD cards I've ever seen, this card is actually kind of cracked because it not only is a negation, it's a revive, and it also can like counter cards very easily. This card is literally Monster Reborn on steroids for our DDD deck. The original DDD Flame King Genghis, you only need 2. 1 DDD Oracle Dean Key Arc, so that way you don't take the 1,000. You gain 1,000, essentially emergency provisions as a walking 2K body. 1 copy of the new level 10 I'm playing, and that's DDD Super Doom King Bright Armageddon. This card is weird. That's all I gotta say of this card. It's a 35k 3,000 beat stick, and that's pretty much all you really need to know for this card. The effect is useless, except for your opponent cannot target monsters you control with card effects. That right there is the first sentence. That is the only reason this card is in here. And unless you have Barone, that card is what you're playing. The last card is DDD Curse King Siegfried. The big boy Siegfried is here as Beowulf Slayer. This card is crazy to negate spell or trap cards your opponent controls. Face up, gone. That's it for the deck. Pretty self-explanatory. Not a long video. Hope you guys enjoyed the video. If you do, leave a like and subscribe. Don't forget to tell me what you guys think I should be playing in the extra deck, because this deck is definitely interesting. And like I said, I built this deck for my brother. I've never played DDDs in my life, so if you guys have any suggestions to improve this deck, so that way I can have my brother the best possible choices for this deck, let me know. And this is your boy signing out. Peace.